Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Game 3 between Endill and Coco. The score going into this game is 1-1, as you would imagine. I'm going to switch sides here just so Endill is in the same place for continuity reasons. So if you're not aware of how this series has transpired so far, Game 1 went to Coco, who swept with a snowball of a Jirachi, kind of like that sub-CM set, and then Game 2, Endill brought a standard team, which was what he needed basically to circumvent Coco's janky rain squad. Camerupt rain, yeah, very, very unique, we'll say. Interesting starts here. You probably, it's one mon has been revealed in a totality of 6, but a potential totality of 6, but we can actually tell quite a lot just from this turn 1. When you see Scarm turn 1, you think Spike's offense, and when you think Spike's offense, you think I need to keep my spikes up. So to me, it suggests a Gengar somewhere in the back, or a Ghost of some kind. Not necessarily, but if you're Endill, you're definitely taking that into account. You're definitely considering that possibility. So Endill is going to start here turn 1 by using Substitute. This Blissey has S-Toss. It will be able to break the Substitute here. Zap does not hit 404 HP. Yeah, the only way Endill would get any kind of usefulness out of this sub on this turn would be to go to a Gengar, but then Gengar doesn't beat Blissey 1v1, so usually Blissey's a pretty good answer to sub Zapdos. We are going to see the Baton Pass. We're going to see a Dugtrio come in, okay. And then we're going to see an S-Toss. Okay, so Endill probably EV to live an Ice Beam from Modest Blissey or Bold, as most of these Dugtrios are. And so what we're learning about Endill's team is that it's probably a special offense. He is going to use Beat Up. And of course all of his mons are nicknamed, as you can see here. But Beat Up, how much is that doing? 62, I think it did. So Coco is going to be forced to attack here at some point. He's going to need to go for a crit if he wants to keep this Blissey around, because Beat Up is doing more than Blissey can recover off. He does finally go for the Ice Beam. Probably should have gone for that on the first turn. Dugtrio remains at 19, so this Dugtrio is still going to be a threat unless this Scarm can get 3 layers up. He'll need 3 layers to beat this Dugtrio, because 2 will not take it out, I don't think. Yeah, he's going to need 3. So do see Zapdos come in. Wow, and Coco goes for a Toxic. Very, very nice move. Endill went for the Zapdos there because obviously it pressures Scarm, and you would think that Endill wouldn't have, you would think that Coco wouldn't have the balls to go for Toxic there, because getting spikes up is just so important. But he recognizes now that he's behind early on here, and he goes for a Toxic to try and get that momentum shifting again. Goes to Claydol here. So he does have a secondary Thunderbolt resistance in the absence of Blissey. And he's going to go to Scarm here on the Baton Pass. So Scarm comes in, and then Endill actually reveals Gengar. That makes me question his turn 2 play, or not turn 2, but the play where Scarm Toxic Zapdos. I think if you have Gengar there and you're Endill, you should always go Gengar in case you get Toxic by Scarm. So Endill may have misplayed by letting that Zapdos get Toxic so early on. Zapdos already gets chipped in Sandstorm, so this Toxic will negate the leftovers negation, and that's not good for Endill, for the longevity of his Zapdos. So we're actually going to see a Scarm here trade a Drill Peck for a Thunderbolt. So again, Endill decides not to go, Coco decides not to go for a Spike. And he will get 2-hit KO'd by this Gengar. Drill Peck doing quite a lot of damage, so he's probably trying to get it in range for something else out here. Goes back to Claydol here. Coco doing all the right things to kind of pivot out of damage. Nicely played. It's always nice aesthetically. It's always nice from a viewer's perspective to watch a player pivoting in and out of damage. It shows they have great they have great knowledge of the game, and they know where the threats are coming from and where they're safe, and it's a hallmark of being a good player. So it's impressive stuff from Coco. Either way, we're going to see a Gengar and a Suicune come out here. So there is a double Suicune revelation, Suicune on both sides. We're going to see a T-Bolt come out from Endill. Now he's going to go to Suicune on the Claydol. And Coco is going to double back into Scarm. Nice double from Coco. Although this could be an offensive Coon set. It surfs for 26. So now that looks to be kind of bold damage. If that was offensive, that surf would have done more. I'm also kind of questioning that play from Endill. Scarm's going to negate most of that damage. He does get an intelligent CM off here, so perhaps it was an okay play. But you have to imagine that, you know, with the Coon on the opposing side, you're not really making any progress by doing that. Because Scarm didn't take too much damage, and this Suicune will stop your Suicune from setting up. So we're going to see Suicune roar out the Lax here. So Coco's actually going to switch into Claydol. So Claydol eats a Wisp here, and we're going to see how it manages to deal with that. Is it a refresh set, or is he just going to force out the Gengar with Psychic? He does just go for the Psychic here. So probably not a refresh set from Coco. That set sucks anyway, not very common anymore. So we're going to see Scarm come in here on Lax into his Shadow Ball. Don't know if I agree with that Shadow Ball. Maybe Endill doesn't have Body Slam, although I doubt it. I don't see why you would Shadow Ball there. So he's now going to Focus Punch into the Scarm and does 36. Scarm does get the second layer of spikes up. If Coco... I would recommend Coco switching out here. You don't want to lose the Scarm, especially when you're already 1-1 down. I don't know if his team has anything else for Lax though. Good move from Endill to Focus Punch here. But Coco's actually all over that and goes for a Drill Peck. Scarm is back at 24% now. This is Scarm doing what Scarm does, getting its health back. Now going to hit 30%, and then probably going to get another Protect off here. Oh, so Coco's actually going to use this as an opportunity to get his Claydol in for free here. So Gengar probably will win this 1v1 at this point. Coon comes in, and Coco goes for another Psychic here. Yeah, Endill wisely doesn't want his Gengar to get any chip. I'm interested to see what the Coon set is on Endill's side. I'd imagine it's an offensive one, and I'd imagine Coco's one is a much more defensive set. So Scarm comes in here. Again, I mean, this is Scarm doing what Scarm does. It's now back at 42%. Coco brings in the Claydol once again, and I'm kind of a bit perplexed. I mean, it's not even walling the Gengar at this point. He's just trying to get a lucky Psychic off. Oh, so he does have Refresh. Okay. Surprised he didn't use it earlier. If he had it, I guess he was fearing Taunt or something. So this Claydol might very well be able to just wall the Gengar at this point, I'm just realizing. Coon going to force the Claydol out, I'd assume here, and again, Endill gets his Gengar back in very wisely. He would be able to get Zapdos in here if he didn't get it Toxic earlier, and Zapdos would be applying a huge amount of pressure to Refresh Doll, because as we know, Refresh Doll actually doesn't have any means of beating Zapdos. So this Zapdos would have been huge without the Blissey. That shows you how important that Toxic was earlier, and why it was a misplay of Endill not to go Gengar. Either way, Endill gets a Wisp and a T-Bolt off into this Coon. So Coon definitely, I mean, I think I would have rested honestly after the first Calm Mind, but we'll see how he decides to do this. Goes for a Surf. Yeah, and Endill now booms. See, he had a Dug Trio as well, so he could have actually forced this out with Zapdos and then dugged it later. That Coon was in a very dangerous position. Hellpowna seems to have pretty much thrown away his Suicune here. In fact, he actually has, it's completely out of the game. It'll die to burn when it comes back in. Now he switches Claydol into HP Grass for 45%. Coco not making the right plays here. He's finding himself very far behind. Does go Scarm here on the HP Grass. And again, we're seeing Endill get punished for getting that Zapdos toxic earlier. Scarm now back at 45. And Endill is just going to baton pass out. So he goes to Suicune again. I suppose, based on the damage Surf did earlier and the fact that it is a Surf set, I'd imagine it's Rest. So Coco here just going to toss out his own Suicune. Probably doesn't have too much to deal with the opposing Suicune now at this point. Goes to Jirachi. And Endill is just going to go to Snorlax here. So, Endill's revealed Shadow Ball, Body Slam, Focus Punch. It's probably just the standard 4 attacks that were last to self-destruct. So it doesn't have too many ways of damaging this Rachi, but if it gets in range, if it manages to take a little bit of chip on the Rachi, Dugtrio will be able to come in here and finish. 2 spikes is not enough to get rid of this Dugtrio. Pretty sure it's going to be able to come in. So we're going to see how this plays out. So Coco decides to sub here. I think switching would have been the best play, because now he might just lose his Jirachi, provided that this Dugtrio isn't adamant and slow. But I'm pretty sure sub Rachi doesn't even typically run max speed, unless it's the T-Bolt Psychic set, and Coco does here just lose his Jirachi. So he just lost his Kun, and he just lost his Jirachi. I would say pretty gratuitously. No need for that at all. Yeah, just playing very lazy here with his Jirachi and his Kun this late in the game. And Endill's offense is now starting to shine through. Fires off a Surf with Kun here and eats a Toxic for his trouble. I'm surprised he fired off a Naked Surf there for 27. This is presumably a bold Kun from Endill, although I would wager Coco has literally no way of dealing with it now. So Endill does get off a Rest here, and we're going to see, so Endill now sacks Doug because he wants to keep the momentum up, I presume. Yeah, it has a Kingdra here. I was probably afraid of Scarm coming in there and getting its HP back. So now he's going to bring in the Kingdra again. Refresh Doll probably has no way of doing damage to Kingdra, so even if Kingdra missed there, he'd probably have plenty more opportunities to go for another Hydro. Scarm comes in here, will be forced to protect to avoid that Hydro killing it. Again, Kun could have actually Kingdra could have actually Rain Danced there, but seemed unnecessary, and Scarm actually does go down from 46. That's quite a lot. That might have been a high roll, but at the same time, I think the situation is looking fairly grave for Coco, and he does just die to Ice Beam here. I didn't even know if that would kill, but he does just go down to Ice Beam, and that is the series between Endill and Coco. Endill with a strong game 3 here. I think he really made use of a well varied offense here. I'm looking at the Jirachi and the Kun, and they could have been extremely dangerous, especially Rachi. But Coco just did not do enough to keep it out of the harm's way of Dugtrio. If he had actually managed to switch out at some point there, maybe if he switched out to Lax on the Boom, things may have looked a little bit more promising. But either way, Coco does lose his Jirachi, does lose the Kun, and of course does lose the game resultantly. The Kun may have been able to do a lot of damage as well. I mean, I'm looking at it, I think it looks like his saving grace here. Suppose Endill did still have the Boom Lax and the Zapdos, so he did have ways of pressuring the Kun. Definitely a grave one for Coco. Endill definitely got the early game right, and as a result the late game was much smoother sailing for him, and he will go on to round 2 now in this bracket, and Coco is out of the tournament, unfortunately. Great to watch him using these interesting teams. That game 2 team was fantastic, but he will be leaving us here, and Endill will be advancing to round 2. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next one.